Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bikinis After Babies. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am one of your hosts, Mandy Rochon, here with your other beautiful blonde host.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Gillian Hughes, and welcome to another episode of Bikinis After Babies. We have a very special episode for you today. We are actually bringing on one of our clients who recently competed in her very first bikini competition. She had a wonderful experience and she got a really great placing and made quite an impression. So we thought it would be really great to bring on a true novice competitor who can share her experience. So we have Josie Kloppenberg today. She is a mama, she's a wife, and fun fact, her husband actually did this competition with her. This is now a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that she competed for the very first time. So welcome to Bikinis After Babies, Josie. Thank you for joining us
Welcome.
today.
Aw, thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're just really excited to have you share your experience. It's not typical for a mom to just be like, I think I'd like to do a bikini competition, but we talk to those women all the time. And I just thought it would be really fun for you to kind of share the experience of, your competition journey and your first competition and maybe some surprising fun things that happened around that experience that our listeners will enjoy. But I always kind of like to start with your background and where you got started in fitness.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been going to the gym probably now going on, gosh, it's almost been 20 years. So I've always, just worked out maybe 2 or 3 times a week, just kind of here and there, like keeping up with it. And for a while, I'd get into it a little bit more and then I'd, stop for a little bit. So kind of on and off for a long time. And it's something I've always thought about was competing. But, I had become a mom and, things get busy and everything. And it just kind of, I just kind of forgot about it, or I thought, oh, maybe, maybe someday I'll do it. Um, but kind of how it all started for me was, I had some dietary issues and some, GI issues that I had to get worked out. And I, came to the point where I wasn't eating a whole, wasn't able to eat a whole lot, like, and I had to cut down to basically all clean foods. And so I started to get really lean, and then I was like, well, this is kind of nice, and so I started building some muscle, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm eating clean now, like maybe I could actually, you know, do this. So, that's when I reached out to you all, and you kind of helped me get right on track for my first competition. So, yeah.
Awesome. I think we can all like speak to like that moment that we like first saw a competitor, and I think like the reaction is like similar. It's either like, wow, that's cool, I want to do it, or like that's not for me, which we didn't have that
Mhm.
reaction obviously. So like when is the first time that you like learned about competitions and thought like that might be something that you'd like to do?
I mean, I think it was probably, it was almost going back 10, 15 years. It would have been Jamie Eason, which I actually don't, I haven't looked her up in quite a bit.
Yes.
I don't know if she was actually in the bodybuilding or if she was just like a sports model, but I kept seeing her and I bought her protein powder, going back ages ago. And
Yeah.
like, I was like, I want to look like her someday. And like, I don't think I had the tools to do it. I know the internet was around. I just, would just do the workouts online and everything, but I never really dove too far into it. So it was kind of always just like a someday, kind of thing. And when, my husband and I
Yeah.
started really getting into the gym, we were like, okay, let's, we should actually do this.
Yeah. No, definitely. I remember seeing her for the first time as well and
Mhm.
just being like, "Oh my God." Like her shape like and she is like honestly she, actually I think we follow each other on Instagram. I don't even know how
Okay.
she followed me back.
There you go.
But she's still fit. She's a mom.
Mhm.
She's still really fit. I don't think she's competed in a really long time. But it was that signature blonde bob, and she had just like a
Mhm.
great look. And
Yeah.
And I think she was a bikini competitor like before the NPC had bikini. So, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm the bikini dinosaur. That's kind of my role here to give you all the history lesson of the sport. But, anyways, yeah, I mean, I it was very similar for me. Like, I saw her and Jennifer Nicole Lee. I don't know if you remember her, but she was like another one that I had seen. And I was like, oh, like, I want to do that too. And I think Jennifer Nicole Lee had babies. And I was like, well, that's really neat. I had started competing before kids, but did
Hmm.
you ever think that you'd be doing your first bikini competition like in your 30s? Because you're still
No.
under 40, right?
I am. I'm pushing 40 August 1st. So, I'm still there. But no, I didn't set it out to be like a bucket list type of thing, like, oh, before you're 40. But now it's almost like I feel like I could just make a bucket list and I can already just check it off. So, no, but I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
You
it's
get to
so
finish it off.
empowering.
it's been a long time, in the works, I guess you could say, but I had a great experience, and hopefully this is just the beginning for me in the sport.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah. So, what was it like preparing for a competition? Not only a competition, but your first competition with your husband.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. There was a lot of preparation involved. So, but it was cool to have somebody on my team going through the process with me. We didn't set out to compete on the same day, but that's kind of what ended up happening. And we just kind of were like, all right, we're doing this. A lot of time in the kitchen together. He was always my little helper with prepping. We'd have all our containers out, and he'd help me chop stuff up, and I'd be cooking, and he'd be bagging up oatmeal and everything. So it worked
Yeah.
out to have somebody that's in it with you that understands the work behind it, and just kind of understands everything that you're going through during the process.
That's really nice to have somebody like that. You just never know when you like have a partner that you're prepping with, a roommate, somebody you're living with, how it's gonna go. But to have like your husband, like that's such a good bonding time to be
Yeah.
able to do that together and do it every week or every so many days and just be able to like go through the process together. That's really neat.
Yeah, it was fun. And so I don't know if we'll end up doing the same competition again at some point, but it was definitely cool to kind of do our first shows, together. It was pretty special.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great too because you were both beginners at the same time. I think it'd be a different experience
Hmm.
if like, you're like, oh, I've been doing this for years, and you had that experience, but the fact that you're both doing it together, was there like ever a point where like he was getting more food than you, or like you had more cardio, or like vice versa, where it was sort of just like, butting heads a little bit about whose diet was harder?
I think it was more like, I don't think it was butting heads. It was more like a friendly kind of like banter. Like he didn't have to do cardio at all because he burned so much at his job that, his basically his cardio was getting 10,000 steps a day. And, I am not a lover of cardio. Luckily, there wasn't like a whole lot of that in my plan anyway. But
Oh,
so
that's
we
so
joke
good.
about that a little bit. But yeah, of course, everybody's different. So he had a completely different plan than I did. He was getting, you know, 2,800 to 3,000 calories a day, 300 grams of carbs a day and everything. So he was definitely on a different plan. So he would be over there, eating his, 3 tablespoons of peanut butter. And I'm like over here with my one little rice cake and a tablespoon of peanut butter. So we got some good
Uh,
laughs for sure. But eventually the tables kind of turned,
that's funny.
at peak week, he was hungry a little bit. And I was like, see, what it's like. But it was all
It's
in good
not a
fun
good
for sure.
feeling, is it?
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I think it's hard if,
Yeah.
like, you're the one that's doing the prep and you feel tired, and the other person is, like, maybe just not on the same page as far as, I mean, my husband and I juggle it pretty well. He's no, has no interest in competing, and he's very, very supportive. But, there's
Hmm.
social things going on, and I'm like in prep. I'm like, I'm probably not going to stay very long. And, so it's nice that the two of you are like in that together. So I think that's really
It
cool. And then you've
is.
got
Yeah.
3 kids together, right? Like you have one and he has
Hmm.
2. So what was it like
Yeah.
juggling the household and all the kid activities? Because that's a lot.
It is a lot. They weren't really in sports over the winter. I had one in volleyball, which it snowed half the time and we didn't have to like go out to practices anyway, so that worked out. But no, it's a lot. I mean, anytime you're balancing three kids just on a normal day, is a lot. But I think it was just a lot of preparation. And if time management was really important for us to be able to spend time with the kids when we had them on our weekends, and not, be in the kitchen all day. So we would kind of plan accordingly. But they eat different foods than us. So that's, always kind of a juggling act is, our food is already prepped and made, and it's like, now we got to feed them too. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but I think, I'm a list writer, so write your list, decide what's for, dinner every day, and you just got to make it happen. Just go, go, go.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of moms tell me that, like, after the show, the thing that they like crave the most or they miss the most about prep was like the structure, because it kind of just keeps things in line and you don't really have to think about what you're eating because you just eat what's on your plan. And then when you have so much choice and a little bit more freedom, it's kind of like this missing that structure piece of prep. So even though there are, the sides you're like, oh, I wish I just had a little more energy and maybe a little more calories and, I could take a rest day. It's sort of like, oh, well, I actually was thriving and doing really well with
Yeah.
all that on my
Yeah.
plate.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that's the same
even the,
with lifestyle clients.
yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of clients that have come back to us that are previous competitors, and they miss that. They miss it so much, and because they don't know how to balance all of it, they miss the structure and how to do it. So a lot of even competitors that decide they don't want to compete anymore and they just want to learn how to have the lifestyle, like they need to be coached to learn how to be able to have a lifestyle and structure themselves without giving into temptation all the time and never succeeding and feeling overwhelmed and chaotic, but just how simple it is to just have your food and eat it. It's so
Yeah. Yeah. Even the day after the show, I felt like a little bit out of sorts because I knew like, okay, well, this is a day that I can like eat what I want and I'm just like, but I don't know what to do. Like I had no meals planned. I'm like, I have no food ready. So like, what do I do? But luckily
I
we
feel
kind of
like that's
hopped.
so common.
Yeah, we hopped right back on the train on Monday, and I had got my reverse diet plan, already situated. So I was like, okay, this is now, yeah, I'm like you, Jillian. I could use the structure, and yeah, it
Yeah.
feels good to be on track.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's like definitely the personality that does like really well with the prep lifestyle. And I think a lot of us
Hmm.
have kind of moved away from even using the word prep because it's all prep, like all parts of
Hmm.
it. Like right now you're in your like improvement season but I mean the structure needs to exist in order to be successful. And it doesn't
Hmm.
even matter how far you want to take this. Like your goal could be to win an overall, your goal could be to go to nationals, your goal could be a pro card. But like I think if you're investing your time and your money in this and you have a family, like you owe it to yourself and your family to like put your whole ass into it and not your half ass, right? And so
Right.
I think that it's all important, right? Like you can't dick around and then be like, oh, I wish I would have worked harder like the 6 months leading into like getting ready for the show. um so your journey was, I think you started, it was in the winter that you got started preparing for the
Hmm.
April competition, right?
Yeah, we started the week of after Thanksgiving, so end of November,
Yeah.
and yeah, all through Christmas, which was interesting with my work schedule. I work a lot during the month of December, so it was a lot to take on. But I was like, this is my time, and you pump yourself up for that. That date, that April 27th, it's always in your head. And so, I was pretty pumped the whole time. I didn't have a whole lot of um, worry or, apprehension or anything. I was just excited more than anything.
Yeah, I could definitely see that on stage. You worked really, really hard on your
Hmm.
posing, with us, and then with your mom shell coach Erica, who's one of our coaches on our team.
Hmm.
Was the posing like the part that, maybe you found to be surprisingly challenging, or was it something that came easy for you?
I was a cheerleader, so I think that helped a little bit just as far as being able to hit certain motions. But it was definitely a lot harder than I realized just to become kind of more natural looking at it. I think it's difficult for that type of posing to be natural for somebody. So yeah, and
Yeah.
holding the poses, was a lot. Come show day, that was pretty intense having to hold for that long, and there's a lot of stamina involved and hurting feet. So
It's more than you expect, right? Like I
it
always tell
is.
people, like that is a very surprising part of show day, like how exhausting
Hmm.
and just how long you are on stage. Because I think with one of the classes you were
Mm-hmm.
in, there was like 15 or 16 girls, and you
Hmm.
guys were all on the sides and like coming out one by one and doing your routine, which
Hmm.
meant that while the other 15 girls were doing their routine, you were standing on the side on your front pose, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because
yeah,
nobody
so
had
that part
posed
was,
yet. Yeah, because it was like the one of the
yeah.
first classes that came up. So yeah, it was definitely up there a while. And I'm sure I was shaking a little bit at some point. But yeah, I think that's super important if, somebody goes into this, being a novice, to know like that's something you probably want to work on ahead of time, pretty early and frequently, and even, going into a second show eventually for me, I know that that's something that I'll probably still, definitely still want to work on more, even put more time into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. I mean, after like a long peak week and a long prep, and then you think, oh, like show day, I don't have to like train that day, but like to stand there and hold your pose and like look normal and natural,
Hmm.
and be able to like stay in a contorted position.
Yeah.
It does take a lot. I always tell my clients to like in the month leading into the show when they're practicing their posing every day to hold the front pose for like 5 minutes and just put a
Mm-hmm.
timer on and just to get used to it and
Hmm.
so that it feels natural. But yeah, I think I could see it in the show, because we had so many different categories, lots of beginners at that show. You could see that there was girls that they had beautiful posing, but they hadn't practiced holding it for a long time, and they're on the side, and like their hips are starting to drop, and their tummies are kind of not staying where they are, and their shoulders
Yeah.
are moving, and or like the trembling too, which that happens just with nerves, but
I see the
um,
trembling quite a bit. Even as you become more seasoned, people still tremble like a lot. It's something that's just so hard to get over after a while. But I do know like the classes that you were in, especially the true novice classes, they were large. They
yes.
were had a lot of women in there. And so I
Hmm.
can when because I expedited the show. So for all you listeners, I was at the show, but I was expediting moving everybody around, being a a great person yelling at everybody. But
Screaming.
I still
Keeping
kept
the
my
show
voice.
organized, because
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
heard so much feedback from the show and everybody said how organized it was, so you did a good job.
Thank you. I got a lot of compliments about the show, so I was very happy about it. There's so many people, like, you have to scream, but it's like, you guys know, you use that mom voice, and that's what I always tell the people, because
Hmm.
a lot of the guys will kind of look at me and like they will just be like, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, and I'm like, they will be a 200-pound giant like hovering over me. I'm like, you go here right now, and they'll be like, yes ma'am, and
Yes,
they won't
ma'am.
move. And it's that mom voice though, because it's still nice. Like, I'm not mad at you, but you have to
Right.
listen, otherwise this will not work. But no, when we lined
Yeah.
up those classes, it was so many true novice, and knowing that you have to be on stage for that long, that is hard. That is
And
hard and
multiple
unexpected.
classes too, like
Mm-hmm.
because Josie, you competed in 4 different classes, right?
I did, yeah, and I didn't think I didn't know what to expect. So, I didn't know I was going to be on stage for it seemed like it was at least 5 minutes up there with
It was
waiting for with all the girls, in that first
You know,
class. Um,
it easily could have been, because each of those
yeah.
girls can take, 15 to 30 seconds. And if they're not, if they're even taking longer to walk, like, and there's so many of them, because I think it's like 17, I think, and one of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a long time. And then they call you
Yeah,
back for
but
first call outs, move you around, second call outs, move you around.
hmm Yeah, they worked us pretty good, so that's something to remember for for next time. Just be prepared to hold for sure. But yeah, I competed in
Yeah.
four classes, so I think that would probably be the max that that I would want to do. And I'm sure I think you tell your clients that that's about as many as you'd
Yeah,
want
that's
to.
my advice. I think
Uh-huh.
Mandy's like, do them all, sign up for six. But I'm like, no, girl. Like, I think three or four is the max. But because of your placing, I think you are no longer eligible for novice or true novice because you did get a
Yeah.
first place at your competition. So, congratulations. That's
Thank
amazing. So now I
you.
think that means you'll be able to do 35, you can do open, and then after August you can do the 40s. And you'll be a 40 shorty
Yeah.
like me because I'm
Oh
the
my
Okay.
goodness.
40
You
40 A
short
class.
people.
40
I
shorty, I
have to
like
tell you,
it.
I have to tell you, I'm actually a little mad at Gillian for being a little short, petite person because, quick little story, she has these pair of shoes that I really want, and I was like, hey, what are those shoes? They're kid sizes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll buy the adult size them. Not only are the adult size double the price, I can't find them anywhere. And I'm
Yep,
like,
that's
that's
right.
not fair. Like, why do
That's
you have to
right.
be so tiny? And I'm like 5'7". I went on a
See, I'm
tangent
like
about this.
Towards and again.
I'm like 5'2", but my feet are like normal size. Like I guess big. I don't have child size feet, so
You, you you save money when you have child-sized feet. It's
right.
ridiculous to
Yeah,
me.
and there's like less tax on kids' shoes as well. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know
I'm a
But
that.
yeah,
five youth.
I like to always recommend, kind of like you were saying, I do always recommend try as many classes as you can, but it's kind of just the way I say it because like with True Novice for NPC and IFBB or NPC, they have this True Novice category, which is a fantastic category because what it's for is for anybody that has never competed in the NPC before has the ability to only compete in this category one time and one time only. After you've stepped on an NPC stage, you are no longer a true novice and you can't compete in that category. After that, you can't compete there, but you can do novice. And then from novice, if you win your novice class, you can't compete in novice anymore. You would only be able to do open and then the master's ages, of course. But I love that they have it because if you're a novice and you haven't won your novice class, you can still do novice multiple times. So you'd still be up against girls that have been on stage multiple times. Whereas true novice, it's everybody's first time.
It
Nobody's done this
is.
before.
And it's all ages too. Like it's teen, open, masters. And I think it's comforting for competitors who've never competed before to know that this category exists because in particular like this show, the St. Louis show, is always like a really big show. And then if you're a competitor in Texas or in California where they have these big shows that bring out like national level competitors, it might stray some people away from thinking that they should compete at that particular show. But with the true novice category, what that means is you have beginners right in that show, and sometimes there's even pro shows attached to it, and you can be on stage at that competition and have an even playing field. So I think that's great. I mean, years ago, again, bikini historian over here, they used to have like levels of shows, and it was like, oh, that's a level 1 show and that's a level 2 show, and you would
Oh,
have like, if you were a beginner, you would just do that show, and they would be short. It like wasn't really worth it to have them. I don't think they made very much money. It was a lot better to do them condensed like that. But then there's no reason why, if you're ready and you've prepped and you're got your suit and you are there, like do more than one category. Like don't only stick yourself in that category, because I've had before where I've put a girl in a show and she's like, no, I only want to do novice and true novice, and she would have won in the open. It was a figure girl actually we had
hmm.
last year, and she only did the masters categories. She was like very intimidated and just like, no, I don't want to. And the girl that was in open that won, she actually beat in the masters category. I'm like, you would have won the
Wow.
whole show. So I
Oh
always say
man.
like, you don't want to do 7 categories, but throw your
Mhm.
hat in the ring for a few more, and just, the more time on stage is more experience. So I think 4 is
Yeah.
a lot, but also, just, get it out there. And I could see for you, because because I watched you very closely and was taking videos of all of our clients. But by that third or fourth time you came out on stage, you really had your groove. Like you'd kind of been, put in first call out a couple times and you had a lot more confidence. So it's kind of nice to have more than like one or two times on stage to be able to just like, okay, I'm not as nervous anymore. I know what I'm doing. I know what it all looks like. So do you think that it felt more comfortable as the show went on?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first time up, I was pretty nervous. I was one of the ones that was trembling, during my solo routine and everything. But yeah, the second, third, fourth time I came out, I was like, okay, my nerves are pretty much, shaken out a lot. So I liked doing that many. I will say, like, behind the scenes, it got a little like dicey as far as like myself. The expediters were fantastic, but I couldn't remember like which categories, I had signed up for. So, or like, and I didn't know the order of them. So when I got backstage from after being on stage, I was like, wait, who are they calling now? Who are they lining up? And like, I was like freaking out. I'm like, what did I sign up for? Where's my number? So I guess that's one thing where I would give advice is like, just remember what categories you're in, because you gotta look out for yourself back there. The expediters are great, but it's you gotta know when you're getting called up next so you don't miss it. And sometimes they're pretty close, where they're you come backstage and you're immediately lined up again. And sometimes you have to wait a little bit, which is fine, but that would be one piece of advice I would give.
One thing I thought about too with that show is like, they had you guys in the pump up area and then you went like kind of like through the atrium and then to the backstage area. And then once you were there, you couldn't leave. Like it's okay to take like a water, your phone, your rice cake, your pump up bands. Like people were just walking like empty handed. And like me and Kate were like running back and forth with water bottles and phones and stuff just to get you guys like stuff to pump up. 'Cause you were back there for a while. And I know that in other shows, competitors will like leave that pump up area to go grab something because they need carbs or something and they miss their class. So I think like just staying close by the expediters, but also being prepared, like just take a couple things back there. It's totally fine to have that back there if you need it.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that with the setup of the show either. Yeah.
Every show will be set up different, but
totally.
usually like the expediters will try to be like, oh yeah, you can do that. You can bring this, or that's why we always like, there's always for the NPC Midwest show, we will hover around. Like that is our job, it's to hover. And that way anybody and everybody can ask us questions of like what to do, where to go, what to bring. And I will tell you the number one thing we will always say is do not leave this area. Do not. I don't care if the show starts and you are the last athlete in the last category of the entire show. Don't leave. Don't leave. Don't go to your hotel room. Just hang out here. Watch a show on your phone. Like, don't. But
what was like the most like surprising thing about show day, Josie?
Gosh, probably it was just a lot of rushing around kind of, and then it was a lot of waiting as well. So I wasn't sure how the show was necessarily set up. I thought I'd have a little bit more downtime between the morning show and the evening show. So that was surprising when I could just basically have time to go eat, rest for a couple minutes, and then I was before I knew it, I was touching up my hair and makeup and we're headed back downstairs. So yeah, I'd say as quick as the day went by, I would say that was pretty surprising.
Yeah.
And how long and exhausting too. Yeah.
Well, you were there super late too, because you were still there and I was like still packing up everything because your husband was in like the last category. So bikini was like long done and he was still on stage. But
yeah. So I guess that did make it longer for me.
Get those photos.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was a
totally
good day,
worth
but long.
Because I mean, Yeah, I'm sure your kids are like, wow, mom and dad are super hot. Like those pictures of you guys. And I actually am going to include, I'm going to put a picture of the two of you on the thumbnail for this episode
Okay.
because, like,
Yeah.
it's a really good picture of you guys, like, all tanned up. And, it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's such an accomplishment. And I think people who've never done this or that don't have a desire to do this might think that we do this for vanity, and that's not it. That would not be enough to motivate us to do the things that we
Mm-mm.
do to get on stage. But it's just such a huge accomplishment for people with a family to be able to juggle it all and make those sacrifices. So congratulations to you. This was not only like a huge accomplishment, but also to like get the placing that you did, because you took first in, was
Thanks.
it your 35
Novice
novice,
35.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
which
then, yeah, and
is
then I got
awesome. I always
second.
tell like first time competitors, yeah, you got a first and a second. You placed, did
Mhm.
you placed in three of your categories, right?
So I placed
Yeah, so
fifth out of
that's
five
awesome.
in my other one, but we won't talk about that one.
Still a medal. That's okay.
Right, right.
No, but that's amazing. And, that's not common. Like I tell my new clients all the time, like, we can't predict a placing. If you place at your first show, it's like, unprecedented. It doesn't always happen. So, to not only, place and take home all that hardware, but also to get first is like a really bright start for you. So congratulations.
Thank you. No, I was definitely super excited. There's a lot of great girls, in the whole thing, and I competed against a lot of other true novices and their first time, so it was fun, and yeah, no, I had a really good time, great experience.
Awesome.
I have a question, Josie, because something
Yeah.
that gets kind of brought up almost every single new athlete we have, I've noticed this. So when you got your bikini,
Yeah.
and,
This
and
is
it
a good
got to,
question.
when you got your bikini, I'm sure you
hmm
were excited. You were really happy when, you got that package in the mail and you opened it. What was your first reaction? How did you feel?
Well, I have a video of it, so I should share that with you sometime. But yeah, my husband videotaped me, but I just my jaw dropped, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful!" Like the color was perfect. It's hard to tell from a little sample they send you, and then picking your crystals and everything that go on it, what is actually going to turn out like. And I was just like, wow, the color was just perfect for me. It's exactly what I wanted. And I know you guys work with Toxic Angels too, so that's who did my suit, and
Yeah.
I was super, super happy. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Did you think like, wow,
Awesome.
this thing is really tiny?
I did, yeah. The top fit like a glove, and then the bottoms, were a little tight. I was thinking, okay, well, maybe
You're
during
like,
peak week this will like
perfect.
fit perfect. And yeah, and of course, I send pictures to my parents, and my dad's like, that could use a little bit more fabric, but it was supportive nonetheless.
That's
But no, it was
that's so funny.
definitely small. So.
That's awesome. What was the reaction of
My
like
dad
your
and my brother
coworkers
like
and
always
friends
support me.
and other people that follow your journey?
Oh, well, first of all, with the suit, my coworkers like helped me a whole lot. Like I even had ex-coworkers
Oh,
coming in like the day that I happened to have my little samples with me at work, and like everybody came in. We were looking at them under lights, and we were, analyzing it. And so everybody had their little votes and everything. So everybody at work loves food, so it's a little bit difficult for them to wrap their head around me kind of being very, selective and everything being regimented and everything. But yeah, they're like, I can't believe you do this. I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, it's what I want to do. And I have a goal, and I know what I have to do to make that goal. And it's not eat that candy, not eat that cake. So, but yeah, family, friends have all been super supportive. And, I haven't seen a whole lot of, we kind of hibernated during the winter. It was kind of a good time just to, focus on our prep and our gym going and resting. And, um, of course, we don't drink and we're not going out. So there was no, parties and stuff like that. So, um, we didn't see a whole lot of everybody over the winter. So maybe this summer we'll try to, get out more, do some more social stuff while we're kind of just in a building session. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's cool your
awesome.
coworkers
Yeah.
supported you. That's really cool. Like, even if they don't do
Yeah.
it, they don't understand it, but they're like, it makes you happy, so they're there for you. And that's awesome you had that support around you. And that's fun. They get
Yeah,
to sleep with you.
absolutely. I know, right? And then they also came at, on show day. A few of them did. So that was
Oh,
super cool. The ones that
nice.
could get, off work that day. But yeah, it was, they're like, we're so proud of you. And it felt really good to have everybody in my corner and showing up for me.
That's
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that means a lot. It's all positive, which is good.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that there's been any real negative, um, energy around it. So, and if there was, then, I was oblivious to it or don't, you can't care about
That's
what
good.
everybody
That's
else is doing. So, it's something that both, my husband and I wanted to do, and we had our goal set, and we were just like all about making it happen.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. What
That's
do
so
you
awesome.
So with your husband, what do you think throughout the whole prep that you guys did together, what do you feel was probably the hardest, like the hardest thing you guys struggled with
Um,
as new athletes?
as new athletes, I guess I would probably just say like just time management, having a family and everything, just kind of the balancing of all that was was pretty hard. But getting up early mornings was pretty tough, to start with. But we became morning people, which helped.
The, those are the best kinds of people. I'm just saying. I'm just
Hmm.
saying. The morning people are the best people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you
No,
learn, I think,
I
as you go through, like, you have to like have like, those like oh shit moments and like things are chaotic and just to learn and build new skills. Cause I feel like for me, like over the years, it's gotten easier to juggle it. I think like if I were
mhm.
to just start now, I think I'd feel really overwhelmed. But because I've been doing it all this time, it's just a skill like that you learn. And women are like just kick ass humans that can figure it out and troubleshoot. And so, that's what you did, right? You just roll with
Yeah,
it
I can
and
imagine
learn as
it
you go.
becomes, yeah, it becomes second nature eventually to do it all. Um, but yeah, you've had a lot of experience, so that's awesome.
Well,
Bikini
you did
dinosaur over
amazing.
there.
Yeah.
I'm totally gonna get you like a dinosaur necklace with like a dinosaur wearing a bikini or
Wearing a
something.
bikini.
Like,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. It is crazy. But yeah, well it was just awesome to get that experience from you and to share kind of like all the little tips and tricks. And so what we always like to ask people, and I'll ask you this as well, is what would be your piece of advice for somebody who is a mama that is a masters competitor that is like looking to compete? Like what would you tell
Mhm.
them about going after that goal?
I'd say just do it. I mean, I don't think there's any better time than now. I mean, there's always going to be some reason not to, and you're always going to be busy. It's kind of like, deciding to have a kid. There's no good time. You just you
Yeah.
do it, and you take it a day at a time, and just make sure you're prepared. Um, yeah, I would just, go after it. You've everybody has it within them, I think, to do this. And I think you develop to, you become stronger mentally because of it, which, is a skill that translates to other things in life just beyond, you know, the sport.
Yeah.
So,
That's
that's really
great.
good
I
advice.
love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Awesome.
there's never gonna be a perfect time. It's just you gotta do
Mm-mm.
it.
You just gotta
Yeah.
go for it and you can't keep putting it
There
off. You
there
might as well
are
just
yeah,
jump
there
in.
are enough hours of the in the day. You just gotta, get up early, and if it's something you truly want, then, you're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us some insight. Because
Yeah, of
like
course.
we've kind of seen, Jillian and I have been doing this for a little bit now, So it's really nice to be able to kind of hear your perspective and be able to share it with our listeners so, you know, they can relate to you. And we'll have all of your information in the show notes. So if you...
So they can follow your journey as you continue
Yeah.
on your fitness journey. And we can't wait to see you on stage again. And congratulations on an amazing prep and an amazing first show. And we're just excited to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been really fun, and I'm honored to be on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
well, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.